What if World War III actually happened? Not in the 2020s, not like right now, I mean in the 1960s. So it all starts in the Korean War. South Korea, after being completely destroyed by North Korea, is about to capture Pyongyang, but the North Korean army completely mobilizes and the Chinese and Soviet militaries go down and absolutely destroy South Korea. They don't decide with the line. It is getting really chaotic in the Korean War, and the Korean War starts escalating. Every nation, like South Korea and North Korea, both of the nations are like fighting really hard. Like it's more like a stalemate, but not a normal stalemate. They are both trying to conquer each other and defend their own land. So South Korea is getting destroyed and Seoul is captured. North Korea wins the Korean War. And now, because Korea is destroyed, Vietnam has a new thing. Because the US has planned to start the Vietnam War already, they do it way earlier in 1963 or 4, which marks the beginning of the war, where North Vietnam is destroyed, and now North Korea takes the Korean peninsula and Vietnam takes all of Vietnam. I mean, the South Vietnam, not the Viet Cong. But the Viet Cong keep uprising. Also, all the communist nations are getting absolutely invaded and destroyed. One of them being Iran, which has a giant rivalry with Saudi Arabia. By this time, Iran had already went to the Soviet side, and the United States, which now doesn't like Iran and all that oil in it, which they absolutely need. That's all they do, go and steal oil for somewhere. And then they use Saudi Arabia, their ally, to restart the old Saudi Arabia and Iran rivalry. Saudi Arabia and Iran are fighting heavily over the Persian Gulf, an area with a lot of oil. They're both trying, and also Yemen joins using the Gulf of Aden. Saudi Arabia unites into the Arabian Peninsula, which takes Saudi Arabia and all the other countries in the Arabian Peninsula. Iran, meanwhile, turns into the Persian Union, and they both are going to fight for the rest of the war. Now it's 1965, and the war is really starting to blow up. The US has entered Europe and now is using Germany. The German War has begun, where East Germany tries to conquer the West, while the West tries to take out all of Germany for themselves. East Germany reaches Munich at blazing speeds, at something comparable to the European Blitzkrieg. That speed and effectiveness done by East Germany makes the US try to do the exact same thing, but much closer into Soviet territory, taking Romania for themselves by immediately making them to surrender. And now they're right next to Moldova and Ukraine. That's what they'll need for controlling the Black Sea. So they all launch an all-out assault, capturing, all of Moldova and quite a bit of Ukraine. But Russia, the Soviet Union, uses the East German Blitzkrieg and punches all their power in and completely blitzkriegs Romania. They capture the Nordics really quickly and also take all of Germany after the Battle of Munich. Now Europe is divided between a line disrupted by Switzerland from Germany's easternmost point. Strasbourg, which is a really important French city, is soon to be captured by the Soviets as they expect, but the Americans push deep into West German territory, even though now that the Soviets saw what they did in the Blitzkriegs, they get even more Soviet soldiers right at Germany, planning to take France for themselves, and they invade and capture Strasbourg. France, as they always do, surrender. Yes, that's always. But Spain is really powerful in this universe, which owns all of Morocco and unites with Portugal to create the Iberian Union, a very powerful empire. The Brits also use their power using NATO to try to take Denmark. Denmark is captured, which means Greenland's captured, and that's a lot of territory captured for the Americans. Now, the Copenhagen team captures the Nordics, but with fierce resistance by the Soviets, are stopped at Finland and reach Helsinki before getting counteroffensive to Oslo, and then again a counteroffensive pushes them down to Helsinki and out of the Nordics. The Soviet Union is right now losing the war, and them and the communist team is getting really angry. But now, pretty much the Pearl Harbor here, China nukes South Korea, which pretty much doesn't exist, meaning North Korea, which turns into the Korean Union, joins the United States, the capitalist team, and the capitalist team tries to take Korea, doing a second Korean war, and wins. This time the Soviets are losing, and they're pushed back to their mainland territories, and China and the Soviet Union are all that's left. Mongolia is getting invaded by both of them, even though fierce American resistance in Mongolia did stop them. But at the end of the war, Mongolia is divided between China and the Soviet Union. Japan also joins this war and also takes a large part of Manchuria and takes a bunch of, islands. And Australia, which is pretty much in evil mode right now, because just 20 years before, in World War II, they conquered Papua New Guinea, invade and divide Indonesia with the Netherlands. And after this, they joined the capitalist team as well with the Netherlands, and the American team wins the war after completely, controlling the Soviets and Chinese, the two main powers of this world. And now in the next war, they plan to completely destroy both of them and take power over the giant oil fields around the Soviet Union. That's the end of the Third World War.